public comment time or the public comment on the school board appointment?
School board.
School board, okay, thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. I call to order the meeting of the Manassas Park governing body for Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. First, we have approval of the agenda. My understanding is that we have no closed session. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Please join us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first we have public comment time. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment? Seeing no one and hearing no one, we'll move on to the public hearing. The public hearing is regarding the appointment of two individuals to the Manassas Park School Board. I declare the public hearing open. The two individuals who have made application are Paul Alexander and Stacy Sieberling. Both terms are effective July 1st, 2024 and expire June 30th, 2027. We have some supportive emails that came in. Let's see here. The emails are, I'm not going to read them out loud since there's no competition for the two seats. Okay, Harmony Briscoe in favor of Paul Alexander, Heather Guston for Paul Alexander, Rachel Kirkland for both Paul Alexander and Stacy Sieberling, Aaron Myers for Paul Alexander, Shannon Myers for Paul Alexander, Margaret Park for Paul Alexander, Calvin Odell for Paul Alexander. Are there any governing body comments? Okay, moving on to public comment. We have Stacy Sieberling signed up to make public comment. Come to the microphone and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Our city clerk will be the timer.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, governing body. I just wanted to take this moment.
Can you speak directly into the microphone?
Let me lower it.
Thank you.
There you go. There we go. It has been an honor to serve on the school board, and I'm eager to continue another term. Serving our students and residents has been a privilege, and I deeply appreciate the opportunity to witness firsthand the students' growth and achievements, as well as the development of our educational programs. I am committed to furthering the school board's efforts to expand our CTE program and enhance Manassas Park's competitiveness with surrounding jurisdictions, all while celebrating our unique community and identity as a small city and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment? Seeing no one and hearing no one, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we do not have any recognitions, but moving on to number 7, we have an update from Councilmember Hampton on the Community Maintenance Working Group, on Keep the Park Beautiful, and on the 50th Anniversary Committee.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone, and folks here and the folks at home. So we'll first start off with the Community Maintenance Working Group, which is the base of Keep the Park Beautiful. So if you go, well, as soon as we get the slides up, we'll just wait a moment.
It's the public hearing about the appointment. But we make the appointment like in 2 weeks.
That's a preview. We're gonna get Assessments 101 tonight. Is there a quiz afterwards?
Which one? Community Maintenance Working Group?
Yes, please. Is there math involved? You're gonna make us do math?
No.
There you go.
Okay,
I can't see what I'm doing, so.
that's okay. There we go. So that's just the timeline since this was first approved in 2021. 2024, you can see what we just, each year we just keep building and building. So if you go to the next slide, what we're doing right now, we're updating the website because it needs a little bit of updating, including adding our new member. And we're getting assistance from Sarah on that. We're also, based on some feedback that we got from the Halloween Houses of Lights and the Winter Lights Extravaganza, we are updating the forms, both the forms that the applications that the folks put in, adding categories, as well as the judging forms. There's always room for improvement, right? And so we also have some code videos. One is in progress that we're going to get to Keith probably over the weekend, and then we have one that we're starting to build out. We're starting to build out the timeline and the outline for it. And then the big thing that we're working on is the volunteer corps program. We do have an aging population here in the city. We've been very lucky so far that we've not had a big winter storm, but let's face it, that we're gonna get hit here soon. So the idea behind the volunteer corps are volunteers that we're gonna work with Department of Social Services and the Commissioner of Revenue to find those individuals that need the assistance, and then go out and recruit individuals to help those individuals so that when there is a big rainstorm, but a big storm, or at the point they can't really do yard maintenance, these individuals will go and help them. We're in the very beginnings of trying to develop this, so more to come. And we already talked about the website. So that's where we stand on the Community Maintenance Working Group. So keep the park beautiful. That's all right. I think I gave you that one in a PDF because there were so many pictures in it.
All right.
Okay. All right, and this is just information about, once again, the information about the organization, where folks can find information. The second Thursday every month, we're in that room over there at 7 p.m. And plus there we have our website with a lot of good information on it. April through May, we were at the Community Day. We were working the table. We had prizes. You can see the pictures there. The upper right and then the bottom right are from Community Day. And then despite the rain, April 30th, we held a Lower Kent Park cleanup. We got about 70 pounds of trash picked up. Of course, you all saw the picture of all the beer cans. It just never ceases to amaze us. And you can see this is the picture before we went out. And then April through May, we've been working on grant applications. We've put in for 3. We're gonna, and I believe they start announcing them. It's either next month or the month after. So hopefully we get one of the 3, like we did last year. And then we're also updating the website. And of course, we have the Keep America Beautiful reporting that's required. So we do have some things lined up for the rest of the year. Next month, we're going to have the Russia Branch Stream cleanup on the 19th, on June 19th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It is a federal holiday. We figured that was a good day to hold it because there's no other things happening at the VRE station. Yvette and I have been going out and been trying to find access that we can get to without hurting ourselves. We've spent the past 2 Fridays doing that. And then in fall, we're going to have a Denver Drive cleanup. We originally had that scheduled for June, but we decided that the June 19th event's going to be quite taxing, so we wanted to spread it out. We're also going to have a Scott Drive Pocket Park and surrounding street cleanup. And then we're going to finish the year with a Lower Kent block party, very similar to what we did for over at Brandy Station. And we also decided that Brandy Station, we're going to do that from now on every year because it was such a success. There has been a lot of good outcome from it, not only just the cleanup, but community involvement and building some relations with the Brandy Station community. So that's Keep the Park Beautiful, more to come. And I'd also like to say thank Yvette Monet, the housing coordinator, very, very helpful with Keep the Park Beautiful. Okay, 50th anniversary. So this is just a recap of what we decided, including the May 24 updated resolution. So we're now down to 2 council members on the committee. As far as progress, we held a meeting in April and in May. We had a meeting last Thursday, and I thank the staff for being there. It was very important that they were there. So if we kind of break things down into 4 different groups, we're going to be working on, so let's start back. We're going to have a planning session in here on June 19th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. because it's very, there's a lot of moving parts, and we need to think through a lot of things. We can't do it in an hour. So we'll be in here from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on the 19th. Part of it is volunteer recruitment, where there's going to be opportunities for digging through the archives, scanning, and serving on subcommittees. For example, Councilmember Amaya is going to be serving on the subcommittee for the barbecue festival, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. The possible sources for the volunteers, of course, Manassas Park resident, college students, and those that are professionals, those that are part of a history department at a college or part of a museum. We're also doing a lot of reach out to the schools. We're doing that through and her name, Rachel Kirkland. She's a great resource, and we're going to use the schools for logo development, possibly video development, campus poster contest. Once again, trying to build the pride in the city with that next generation and have them be part of it. The website and social media, the website's in progress. We talked a little bit about that last Thursday, and it's going to be a site that's going to be iteratively increased as we go on. We'll be collecting past newsletters, water bills, any other city developed correspondence. I know in our house, before we even did this, we actually threw out some water bills from 10, 15 years ago. Why we had them that long, I don't know, but we did. Now I wish we kept it so I could use this for this. Yeah. Also collecting and posting stories and photos from past and current residents. I've had residents that grew up here in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that are very interested. They want information. I think they even want to come up here when we have our 50th anniversary. So the roots in the city run deep and run nationwide. Long-term activities, July 1 is going to be our official birthday, so that's part of the discussion on the 19th. What are we going to do on July 1? What are we going to do on July 5? And of course, the big one that we had to spend a lot of time last Thursday on is a barbecue contest early to mid-September of next year, with all the proceeds going to the Bell Foundation, being held at Costello Park because that is our original park, it's a throwback to our past traditions, and folks can walk there. We're very fortunate that Melissa has actually done the research for this in her previous position, so she knows the in and outs far better than any of us. Was anything else I missed about the barbecue? Yeah, it's just, we're very excited. We're not going to do the grand barbecue, the one where when you think of barbecue contests and they have the really top-notch professionals, that's just too much of an effort, and we also don't have the space for that. So we're going to do what's called a backyard barbecue contest, and it'll be through the Kansas City Barbecue Society, which is like the NFL of barbecue contests. So more to come. And then for budget, and it's going to be in the fiscal we haven't passed it yet, but requested $2,000. And just as a reminder, it's seed money to be offset by future sponsorships. And then the next page is just some past photos. And I think it's kind of interesting to see these children, how they're dressed to go to school versus now. Now you sometimes find kids in their pajamas going to school. And a newsletter from 1950-something. Wow. I don't know what year the marching band is, but that's back in the day. And that's pretty much it.
Wow, thank you. Comments or questions for Councilmember Hampton? Okay, thank you very much. Barbecue sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. And moving on to number 8, we have a presentation by Darius Gould, our city assessor. So welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Rishel, Vice Mayor Menacing, members of the governing body. Thanks for inviting me tonight. Special thanks to Mario getting me set up here. I was a little worried, but he fixed all the technical difficulties. But tonight I just wanted to just kind of give a discussion on real estate assessments for the city, for the benefit of the residents. And first I just wanted to start with just to introduce our staff. Myself, my name is Darius Gould. I'm the city assessor for Manassas Park. Been with the city just over 2 years, and just to give a little bit about my background, I've been appraising now for about 18 years. Had a mix of private fee appraisal work for residential commercial properties, and then I've also had a lot of experience with local government assessment offices. I have my certified general license for real estate appraising, which basically says that I'm licensed to appraise any type of property. I may not know how to appraise every type, but I'm licensed to. And also have the MAI designation from the Appraisal Institute, which just basically says I got some additional classes and training, a bunch of tests, and had to do a demo report. But so our assessment office is made up of myself and Justin Park, who's our senior appraiser. So just the two of us. So between the two of us, we wear several hats to kind of keep the assessor's office going. But I just wanted to give him a moment to come up and introduce himself.
Good evening, members of the governing body. My name is Justin Park. I was hired as a senior appraiser a little less than 2 years ago now with the city. To share a brief background of my career in appraising, I started at a private appraisal firm in 2006. And in 2010, I joined the local government assessment office, and I've been in this field for much of the time since then. Currently, I handle mostly the residential properties. So, thank you.
And just want to mention real quickly, I guess Justin and I, we used to work together back in Arlington County. So it worked out well when, we had an opening here that we were able to reconnect and kind of tackle this project together. All right, I just want to just briefly, go over my agenda for tonight's presentation. It's probably going to go roughly 30 minutes. Hope you all are prepared for that, but I just wanted to kind of give a kind of good overview for the residents. First, I wanted to give an overview of the city assessor website. Talk about the role of the assessor, kind of what is mass appraisal and the benefits of mass appraisal, the assessment process, assessment increases, and lastly, go over common concerns. Here's one to just play a kind of a virtual tour of our city assessor website. It's a good place to find a lot of information that we'll be discussing tonight, but for a reference. And I was going to play the video while I was kind of talk over it. So here we have our little jumping here, property search tool. You can go here, search for your property by address. Here you'll find a lot of the property characteristics, assessment values, and previous sales history. Also, we have our real estate public forum. So if you're going to apply for review of your property, you would find that there. And we have the real estate tax inquiry page where you can find a history of your tax bills on this page. If you have questions, again, about your real estate tax bill, you would contact the treasurer's office, but I'm just kind of showing, where you find that information. Here in the assessment process, Here just kind of gives an overview of how the properties are valued in the city, some general information there. A good place to look as well as a frequently asked questions. A lot of your questions can be answered there, like, why did my assessment change? This is a good place to find those type of answers, which we'll discuss more later as well. And the GIS online mapping, you know, if for some reason you want to look up your property on the map, you can just go into your address and you can find your parcel. A little further down on our screen is the important dates and deadlines for 2024. You can find those there. And here on the left panel, here we have the list of all the sales that were used for the 2024 assessment, listed by neighborhood. Here's a brochure from IWO about understanding your assessment. Sorry again for the videos, a little jumpier than I saw before. Some informative YouTube videos that used for reference. I have a link here to real estate tax relief was done by the Commissioner of Revenue's office, and just a history of the tax rates and stormwater rates for reference as well. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick, so you know what's available on our website. And here I just wanted to play one of the YouTube videos that I feel like gives kind of a good overview of what goes on in the assessment office. This is about 3 minutes long, so I just wanted to show this real quick. Just sing the sound.
One second.
Okay.
Appraiser. They seem to think of a scary figure reaching for their wallet. Not so. Appraisers don't set tax rates. Appraisers don't chase tax dollars. An appraiser is interested in fairly determining property values, and they take great pride in it. Property tax is determined by a simple formula. Appraisers only affect one of these variables, the value, and they do so with incredible accuracy. Appraisers aren't tax collectors or even tax setters. They're just fellow taxpayers, and their primary goal is to make everything fair and equitable. Imagine that you are in a restaurant with two friends. One orders a hot dog, one a plate of caviar, and you order a steak. The waiter comes to the table with a total bill of $100, but he doesn't know how much each of you should pay. If everyone paid the same amount, the guy who ordered caviar might be happy. But what about the guy who ordered a hot dog? Enter appraisers. The food is your property. Just like these meals, some people's property is worth more than others. And it's the appraiser's job to determine how much each property is worth. That's it. So, in the same way the value of these menu items would need to be determined, an appraiser places values on properties to ensure fairness and equity. After the appraiser determines the value of each property, local governing bodies will set their budgets for the coming year. They set the tax rate in order to produce the dollars needed for their budgets. The value of a property does not affect the amount of property tax needed. The sum total of all these budgets is a set number that has to be divided up among all the property owners. So even if everyone's value was cut in half by the appraisers, the tax rate would be raised in order to generate the same amount of tax revenue. The appraisers don't determine the taxes you pay. They just determine the values of properties to keep everything as fair and equitable as possible. When you notice a change in your property's appraised value, the change is the result of a never-ending quest for fairness and accuracy. Appraisers are graded on their performance, so there is a detailed system to get accurate valuations. First, the appraiser looks at similar properties that have sold, their sale prices, and the terms and conditions of each sale. That's the reason your home won't just be compared to the place next door. Studying things like square footage, age, and location helps appraisers determine how comparable another property is to yours. Even seemingly small details, like an extra bathroom or finished basement, can result in significant differences in value in two otherwise identical homes. Appraisers maintain a thorough database of real estate information to make this process as precise as possible. Changes in value are typically the result of local real estate market sales or major changes to a property. Remodel a kitchen or finish your basement, and your property's value could increase. When you see your home's appraised value, you can rest assured that the number has not been drawn out of a hat, nor generated with anything but equity and accuracy in mind. Long story short, appraisers are here to help, not trying to hinder. Their focus is accurate values, not tax collection. The only things an appraiser chases are fairness and equity, and they take great pride in it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay. Next one, I want to just talk about what is the role of the assessor's office. The assessor is responsible for estimating the value of all properties in the city at 100% of market value. The effective date for the assessments is July 1st of each year, and we're required by state code to allocate the value into the land and building value. And as the video mentioned, we don't set the tax rate, issue tax bills, nor collect taxes. We just estimate the value of the property. Just to give you a definition of fair market value, it is the price a property will bring when offered for sale by one who desires but is not obliged to sell it, and is bought by one who is under no necessity of having it. Another way you can just say this is the price your property would sell for under normal market conditions with like no undue pressure on either side. And just briefly to talk about the importance of the real estate assessment. Assessments are the foundation for property taxes. The assessed value is multiplied by the tax rate to determine the total property tax owed. And next, I just want to define what is mass appraisal. Mass appraisal is a statistical method to estimate the value of a large number of properties simultaneously. It utilizes data analysis and modeling to achieve efficiency in valuing all properties in the city. It's primarily used by government agencies to establish a property's assessed value, which forms the basis for property taxes. And just discuss briefly, how it differs from individual appraisals. You may be more familiar with those. Individual appraisals involve the estimate of a single property by a licensed appraiser. And typically what they'll do, after they inspect your property, they'll look for other similar properties that have sold recently that are nearby. They'll make adjustments for any differences in the characteristics to come to a conclusion of value. And typically this is for in case of a sale or refinance or some other reason they're trying to establish a value. So one major difference is the purpose and scope of work between the two are different. And even though we use a lot of the same methodologies as far as sales, looking at sales as comparison, I guess mass appraisal, you're looking more as a whole, looking at a number of the sales to value a large group of properties rather than one individual property. And just to touch on some of the tools used in mass appraisal, I guess one is sales data analysis. So with that, recent arm's list sales of similar properties or comparables serve as benchmarks for evaluation. So we review every sale that occurs in the city and try to determine if it's an arm's length transaction. So we want to, take out ones that are, if anything like a short sale or any other kind of property. So we have, good sales to work from. And just to note, an arm's length transaction is a transaction between two or more unrelated parties that are acting independently in their self-interest. Next, statistical models. Complex models analyze sales data to identify key factors influencing property values, such as like size, location, condition. And these models ensure consistency and fairness in valuations across the city. And lastly, the GIS systems. We can use those maps and see how they, location may influence value, shape of a lot, and different things, topography and those sorts of things, how they may impact value. And just to touch on the benefits of mass appraisal, there's fairness, uniformity, and also transparency. So mass appraisal ensures all properties are valued fairly and equitably based on objective market data. So this promotes a sense of equity among taxpayers as everyone contributes their fair share based on the relative value of their property. And regarding transparency, property assessments are based on objective data analysis, not subjective opinions. And the assessor's office strives for transparency by making data and resources readily available to the public, allowing for informed understanding of the process. I guess before I move on, any questions on mass appraisal, or should I continue? Okay. Yeah. Okay, the assessment process. I kind of broke these down into kind of data collection methods, common evaluation approaches, and key factors considered. So regarding data collection methods, I guess having good data is really essential for us to do our jobs well. That's something we're actively working on right now to try to, review and the property information that we have to make sure what we have on record is correct and so we can minimize inconsistencies. So these are ways that we collect data for our properties. So one is deeds. That's where we find the sales of properties, the sales prices. We see the parties involved. Sometimes we can disqualify sales to use in our analysis if we see that the parties are related. Those are ones that we would take out. Building permits, that's where we have information on any renovations or additions that are done to a property, so we can update our records. The multiple listing service, we use Bright MLS website. This is probably our main source for being able to qualify sales, see what the condition of the property is from the pictures, see what remarks that the realtor may have left in there that may give us more information on that sale. And the next, physical inspections, that's when we would come out, take a picture, take exterior measurements of the property, update our records as needed. Typically, we would come out either perhaps after a sale or to follow up on a building permit, or if someone requested an appeal of their assessment. If someone requested an appeal, a lot of times in that we'll also request an interior inspection just to make sure we have the correct information on the property. And one tool we've been using a lot more here lately is NearMap, and that allows us to do kind of virtual inspections of properties, so it's a lot more efficient than trying to go door to door. It has aerial imagery, kind of like a bird's eye view, and we can rotate the view. We can take measurements that are pretty, accurate, and either verify our records or see if we need to make any changes to the property. And then, lastly, I mentioned GIS again. That's where we see information on the parcel itself. All right. And then discuss common evaluation approaches. The three are sales comparison approach, income approach, and the cost approach. The sales comparison approach is most commonly used, and that's what we primarily use for the residential properties. And what's happening with that is an opinion on market value is developed by comparing properties that have recently sold that are similar to the property being valued. So in general, your assessment should be in line with sales of similar properties. And just to kind of give an example for mass appraisal, like say there were maybe 25 Cape Cod homes that are kind of like the original size that may have sold 1 year, but there's 500 of those homes in the neighborhood. So we'll look at those 25 sales, kind of analyze those, and kind of a model is created to value all of the, I guess, the 500 properties that are most similar. Next is the income approach. This is mainly used for income producing properties like commercial properties such as multifamily, office, retail. This one, just to briefly share with you, we determine the net operating income for the property, and divided by market capitalization rate to get to a conclusion of value. And then lastly, the cost approach, that's kind of probably used, not as common, but basically what that is first you determine land value for the property, then you determine a replacement cost new for like the building cost to build a similar property, and then you subtract depreciation based on the age and condition of the property to get to a value. So before I move on, any questions on the assessment process? Or I should just
Really
continue?
quick.
Okay.
Can you give me an example when you would use the cost approach?
I mean, you can use it anytime. I guess it's better if the property is newer, because sometimes it's kind of hard to really get a good idea of what, how much you subtract for depreciation. But you can use it for a single family home or any type of property. A lot of times it's used, when I was doing fee work, it was kind of used kind of like a check against the other approaches, kind of like a kind of a secondary use, but it can be used for any type of property as long as you have good building cost data to work from.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I was just curious.
A lot of insurance companies will use the cost approach because you want to see the
Right.
cost value of your house if it was to be replaced,
Oh, like when they get hit by
like a
a
hurricane, tornado, or something.
Okay, thank you, see.
True.
Yeah.
All right, next we'll discuss the assessment process, the key factors considered. I guess one is, always recent market trends, size of the property or size of the lot, location, age and condition of the property, and also special features, something like, fireplaces, detached garages, decks, pools, accessory dwellings, those things we try to see if we can account for. And next we'll discuss the question of why does my assessment keep increasing, which I'm sure many of us are well aware of what's been going on in the market. But I just kind of created this graph to kind of visualize what's been going on. The graph on the left is just showing median sales prices that have occurred from 2019 to 2023 within Manassas Park. And just to have more data to work with, also kind of, in the graph on the right, did more of a regional view and included Prince William County and the city of Manassas along with Manassas Park. And you can see in both graphs, the values have increased, year to year by quite a bit. And in both cases, basically from 2019 to 2023, the median sales price have increased 40%, just in that time span. So these trends directly impact real estate assessments. So we're always aiming to, get close to that 100% of full market value. And in cases like this, when either the values are increasing rapidly or decreasing rapidly, our assessments tend to lag behind the market. We're looking at historical data. We're only assessing once a year. So we're always trying to kind of play catch up. So that's something we're still working to close that gap in some cases. Okay, any questions about that before I move on? Okay. And lastly, just addressing common concerns. I guess one question is, why did my assessment change? So these are some of the reasons why your assessment may have changed. One is fluctuations in the real estate market, which you kind of just showed in the graph there. Another is recent sales of comparable properties. One thing sometimes too, since our city is pretty small, sometimes we don't get a lot of data for maybe, like say, one-story homes with a basement. But then one year we have 5 sales of that property. We're like, oh, okay, these support a certain value, so then we might make an adjustment there. So we're always kind of looking at properties that are most similar to the ones we're assessing. Next, renovations or improvements made to a property, can always impact the value. And lastly, corrections made to property characteristics This may be when we're doing, inspections or virtual inspections, or, when we're following up on a sale, you might see that information is different than what we have on record. So any of those corrections could have an impact on value, but, whether up or down based on what we may find. And, okay, this always jumps ahead. Okay, what if I disagree with my assessment? So first, I would say to contact us to discuss your concerns. A lot of times, we're able to answer the questions, owner may have, resolve issues. Perhaps they're not aware that, there are, 6, 7 sales in their neighborhood, same model as theirs that are, much higher than they thought, or they're not keeping up with the recent sales. I think I had one like that for a industrial condo. He thought, well, our value went up so high that I showed him a list of the sales. He was like, oh. So he's like, okay, I understand now. So, but if for some reason you feel like your assessment is out of line, I just kind of go with the appeals process. The first level review is in a formal review with the assessor's office. So at that level, you would submit an application for review. You include any evidence or support for why you think the value should be different, whether that's sales in the neighborhood, whether that's, you feel like the information we have on your property is incorrect, wrong square footage or something like that. And we will analyze, or mostly Justin probably will analyze the information, discuss it with you, set up a time to inspect the property and make a determination of the value. And just want to note that the deadline for the first level of review is June the 3rd for this year. But if you're unhappy with, what we give you back, you have a opportunity to appeal to the Board of Equalization. Board of Equalization is made up of a handful of City of Manassas Park residents who will hear your case and the evidence that you present. And they'll also hear, what we have from the assessor's office, and they will discuss and make a determination for the value for your property. And then lastly, this is, least commonly used, but there is the option to go to circuit court if you so choose. Oh, also I just wanted to mention the Board of Equalization appeal deadline is August 1st. All right, any questions about common concerns before I wrap?
Yes, go ahead.
In the appeals process, how many people, or what percentage of people are asking that their assessment be lowered compared to those who think their assessment is high, should be a higher rate?
Generally, probably, I say 98% say it should be lower. Occasionally, you have somebody call and say, why is my assessment so low, or want it higher? But usually, in those cases, they're thinking about selling soon, so they feel like if the assessment shows higher, they'll help them with their sales price. But I'm not even really sure how much people look at that when they're deciding to, purchase a house, if the assessed value is low or high. But
And of that percentage of 98 who want theirs lowered, how many actually, once this gentleman
Justin.
reviews them, makes it lower?
It's kind of hard to
We haven't
say.
had that many reviews
Yeah.
since I've been here. But usually, obviously I'll look at the sales analysis, compare their house versus the sales that we had. And if it's determined, that it's assessed a little higher, then we'll go ahead and make those adjustments.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, but it's probably not a high percentage, particularly for residential properties in general. Typically, it would be if we have your house as a 2,000 square foot house, then we come out and inspect, it's only 1,500 square feet. If those type of things, we're like, oh, we have, our records are correct, so we'll go ahead and lower the value. Typically, it's things like that will require a change.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other? Yes, ma'am.
So I've read different articles and seen different news clippings, not news clippings, but videos, where in older neighborhoods, when they start, gentrification occurs and the smaller homes are torn down and replaced with larger homes, The folks that are living in the older homes are saying, you know, they can't afford to live there anymore because the property value has gone up because of the older homes being replaced with the larger homes. How true is that statement when it comes to doing assessments?
We look at house. and-
Can you please come to the microphone? Thank you.
So we're looking at each home at its own type of house. So if you have a one-story home, then we look at all the sales for a one-story home. One-story home with basement, we look at one-story homes with basement, if there's enough data to look, right? So we would never compare a one-story home versus a two-story house or brand-new two-story house. Those are completely separated.
So there's always like things together. So if it's a
Yes.
900 square foot Cape Cod,
Right.
only the Cape Cods that are 900 square feet get compared
Yes.
versus a Cape Cod with an extension that's now 2,000 square feet and now has, I don't know, 7 bathrooms in it.
Yes, yes. If,
Okay.
generally, there's enough sales to go by. So we look at original homes, think like 941 square feet is pretty typical. We'll separate all those versus, like you said, the same type of house with like a 200, 300, even, 300 square foot addition in the back. So if we have enough sales to separate as much as possible, we'll go ahead and do that.
Okay.
But it's never to the point where we're looking at one-story home versus like a two-story home, or even one-story home versus one with a basement.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Okay.
Do you have a follow-up?
No.
Comments or questions? I have a question. How often do you have to do physical inspections?
Not very often, especially with using the, I guess that near map tool, we see, sometimes we actually see more, because if we do a physical inspection, especially if no one's home, we can kind of only go to the front door and kind of walk out. We can't just walk around the backyard legally, but I guess from the aerial view, we can kind of rotate and kind of see, what we need to measure. So not very often. I guess for permits, it's probably the ones that we probably go physically see as well, most often, because I think those aerial images are probably, it's like twice a year, I think they update. So, yeah, but yeah, mainly for building permits, we'll go out and see.
Do you need permission to go into their backyard?
Yes, from what I understand, I guess one conference that I attended, the attorney was kind of explaining how, what we can do and not do. When we worked in Arlington, we used to go in backyards, but we didn't know we weren't supposed to. And it was some awkward situations sometimes, so, yeah, we stay away from that.
Because my understanding is that staff can go up to the front door. The path of the mail carrier is the accepted way to enter someone's property.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay, thank you.
If I can kind of add to that.
Yeah.
Typically, a lot of the stuff is done in the back, right? And we don't have the right to enter the back of the house. And in addition to that, if there's only a minor in the house, we have to leave. And so for all these reasons, and with other projects that we're working on, it's very inefficient for us to try to visit every single property in person. And it's like you said, the near map gives us area view of the circumference of the house, so it's much more efficient to do that. And even if you're in front of the house, you have to get really close to the house to measure. And if you think nobody's there and you're close to the house, you're measuring, and somebody's inside, things can go a little bit south from there as well. So for those reasons, we try to either, if we have to visit the house, we'll go ahead and make an appointment with the homeowner.
Right.
We'll knock on the door. If they're not there, leave a card saying, please give us a call, and we try to make an appointment. Otherwise, that's only if as needed.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Any other last-minute comments or questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, and just lastly, thank you for your all's time again. I hope this kind of gave everyone a better understanding. And, visit our website for more information. Definitely contact us if you have any questions, and
Okay.
we'd be glad to help the residents out.
Okay. And
Thank
I
you.
think this will help the public's understanding also. Yeah,
Absolutely.
super.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of approval of the minutes of April 30th and May 7th, 2024, approval of an authorization for the interim city manager to sign the necessary legal documents with Blue Raster LLC to amend the existing agreement in regards to the annual maintenance support of city ESRI GIS mapping as presented pending final review by city attorney, and adoption of an ordinance declaring city equipment as surplus equipment and authorization for the interim city manager to dispose of the equipment pursuant to Article 15 of Chapter 2 of the Code of the City of Manassas Park as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, no unfinished business, so moving on to new business, Wayfinding sign program. Welcome, Calvin.
Good evening, Mayor Richel, Vice Mayor Mensing, members of council, residents, staff, and guests. I'm Calvin Odell, the Director of Community Development. As far back as I can remember, 2015, 2016, we started talking about wayfinding signage with our proposed modifications to the comprehensive plan in the Four Corners District, recognizing that that is our primary corridor along Route 28, and we have these visions of developing a downtown, and we really want to point people from 28 down here to our downtown district. So as the downtown development really kicked off once again, wayfinding signage has been on the top of staff's minds, and we've had minor discussions about it with the Planning Commission and with the governing body. But we've been working in the background with sign graphics to develop a wayfinding sign layout and program for the city. But one of the major goals that we wanted to accomplish with this wayfinding signage was from the economic development standpoint. We wanted to be able to point to key businesses in our downtown, key businesses throughout our city. But when we do that, that's really pointing sort of towards a program that we're all familiar with through VDOT. And VDOT calls that their integrated directional signing program. And they have two specific types of signs that I know everybody's familiar with. And one of them is the specific travel services, the logo signs, where you're driving down the road and you see the giant, not to drop names, but Exxon, Wawa, you see those, and the fast food restaurants get their very large logo on those signs. And we're used to that. We're looking for services. We see those before exits, and it tells us how far we have to go to get to those services. They also have a smaller type of sign that they call a TOD, or a tourist-oriented directional sign. And that's not the giant logo, but just a list that sort of points you in a direction and tells you how many miles until you get to that specific destination. And in that same program, they have something that the city would use to point to our own destinations, our libraries, our parks, our community centers, things like that. And those are called supplemental guide signs. But really, tonight, we're here to kind of talk about those first two. Because let's face it, signs, we only want them to be so big, which means there's only going to be so much space. And we can't list every business in the city, because then nobody's going to read it. They're all going to be too small. So we're going to have to develop a program of fairness and accessibility to get businesses on this, which means there's going to have to be some standards laid out. There's going to have to be an application process. There's going to have to be a policy to guide staff through that application process and selection process. And we are pretty sure that the governing body is not going to want us to do all this on taxpayer money, so there's going to need to be an application fee. So we're here tonight to just sort of ask the governing body to give us direction to go ahead and start spending our time putting a policy together that we can then bring back to you guys so you guys can review the policy, tell us where we need to make changes or approve it. But that's why we're here tonight, just to let you know we've come to that point where we really need to start developing a policy, and that's the motion before you.
Okay, okay. Comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
I imagine other localities have similar policies or policies about these type of signs.
So we haven't seen any other jurisdictions' policies, but we are looking at VDOT's. We have looked at their policy from the get-go, and we try to decide how we're going to do this. So we're very familiar with VDOT's policy on it, but finding other jurisdictions and accessing their specific policy, there's a lot of things on like the supplemental guide signs, where you see that in their comprehensive plan or in appendices to their comprehensive plan, where they talk about wayfinding supplemental signage pointing to parks and things like that. But when it comes to actually pointing to private businesses, that's where we really need to have a written, developed policy that's fair, and that's, that doesn't lean on favoritism or anything like that, so that businesses that want to be up there get up there, but they have to meet certain standards before they're considered for the program. So we haven't found any other jurisdictions' policies to review yet, but that'll be part of this process. We'll spend a lot more time researching, trying to come together, trying to get a policy together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Thanks, Calvin, for the presentation. A lot of communities in our sister city to the next to us, Manassas, at the entrance to their cities, they have these electronic signs that they change whenever they have a farmer's market or an event going on. I think they're really catchy, and the fact that you could change them is really nice. Are we looking at signs like that possibly as part of this process?
So the sign design the sign design program that we've been working with Sign Graphics is not just these business signs. It's actually wayfinding, it's our supplemental signs, it's our gateway signs. And I think that's what you're referring to is our large gateway signs with the LED billboards. The problem that we're going to face, and we're going to have some big decisions to make as we bring forth these gateway signs, is we don't have a lot of median space. If you look at the medians that are left on Route 28, they're very narrow. Compare that to what you see with Manassas' sign on Liberia. I think they have 12 to 15 feet wide grass median to place this sign in. We can't have our signs sticking out there in traffic, and even if it's just too close to traffic, we can expect to have to replace it all the time. Our insurance company's probably going to get pretty upset if we replaced an expensive sign like that every, twice a year or something because of automobile impact. So we're looking at areas off of the medians where we could still get visibility. Understandably, that's going to be a bit of a challenge to still get as much visibility if it's not in the median, but we are looking into those gateway signs. We have asked for concept designs for those LED signs so that we can get whatever message we want out there and a different message all the time.
Fantastic. Thank you, Calvin.
Comments or
Exciting.
questions? No? Thank you, Calvin. That's exciting. I can't wait to see the results. Staff recommended motion is that the governing body authorize staff to develop a policy and application fee for the wayfinding sign program. Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Super. We're
Thank
on
you.
our way. Moving on to 11B, engagement with outside counsel, and we have with us this evening Mr. Brian Lubkeman. Did I butcher your name?
Actually, fairly close. It's Lupkeman, but you got it basically correct. It's very nice to be here.
I'm sorry, can you
It's not.
directly into the microphone, or perhaps that's a better microphone over there?
If you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. It's Lupkeman. But you got it very close.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be back in Manassas Park. As the staff report noted, I was city attorney very briefly in 2001 and 2002. In fact, I think Ms. Connor is probably the only staff member still around from that time. So looking forward, if the governing body approves, to helping the city attorney on an as-needed basis going forward.
Yeah.
And happy to answer any questions.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have a question. In the letter that was sent to us, number 2, conflict of interest, if a conflict of interest develops, then would the firm designate 2 different attorneys in order to construct a firewall between the 2 entities?
So the conflict would likely, if there was one, would be with the firm. So in that case, again, you have your city attorney who would be determining who would be helping on a matter.
Okay.
It's very unlikely that there would be conflicts. Those are just standard provisions that we put in all of our engagement letters.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
Just, I guess, a clarification from Dean, if he's on the line. So, Dean, you'll be supervising and assigning jobs to the gentleman, to Brian?
Yeah, that's correct. So this is just kind of, you may remember 3 weeks ago when I made the presentation on this.
Yeah.
The decision was to roll the money over that we had set aside for an assistant into this line item so that I could use them when I got overwhelmed, that I could send some work their way to try to relieve the backlog, which has been happening a lot. So yes, everything would still go through me. Staff would not be contacting Brian or his firm directly. They'd contact me, and then I would contact Brian to assign work. So yeah, everything's still coming through me.
And then, Brian, I'm looking at the report, and I appreciate the information in the contract that's here before us. But could you just give us a little bit about your background and
Sure.
how long you've been?
Happy to. I've been,
doing this
every time I give one of these presentations, it gets longer and longer, but I've been
Give us a short version.
I've been practicing law exclusively in Virginia for over 30 years. I started out, after clerkship, I started out in the Fairfax County Attorney's Office, then went into private practice, represented a number of municipalities over the years under contract after being in-house in Fairfax County. I have served on an interim basis as Falls Church City Attorney. I currently serve as Fairfax City Attorney. I've also, again, served here as Manassas Park, and we've also served as outside counsel to a number of other jurisdictions in Northern Virginia and elsewhere. The remainder of my practice is I am a corporate attorney, and I also do commercial real estate. Those would be primarily it. And then I have a little free time occasionally. So again, looking forward to helping as needed by your city attorney.
Appreciate that.
Thank
Lucky to have you a part of our team.
Do you have a follow-up?
No.
No? Comments or questions? Comments or questions? No, make sure we...
Okay, I'd like to make a comment.
Beg your
Mayor.
pardon?
I'd like to make a comment. I just want to point out that Brian's firm also represents Vienna as a town attorney there. Their firm has represented the city of Manassas Park most extensively in the eminent domain for the building you're sitting in right now, but also in removing the restrictive covenants up in the Connor Center area that was stopping us from doing any of the development we wanted. So they were very helpful with that. They also, there's another member of their firm that is our litigator, if you will, for matters that are not covered under our Versa insurance policy. So we have familiarity with them. I've known Brian for 20 plus years and have a lot of respect for him as an attorney. So I think we'd be getting a good deal with this agreement as a backup for the city.
Yes.
Here.
Thank you. We would be very pleased to have you.
Thank you all.
Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, staff recommended motion is that the governing body approve and authorize the mayor to sign an engagement letter with Briglia, Hundley, PC to provide general legal counsel services to the city in support of the city attorney as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. Okay, moving on, it's our second public comment time. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment? Seeing no one and hearing no one, we move on to city manager's report.
Good evening. Just 3 quick notes for you all. The first one, Lena was able to advertise the budget inside Nova, so you should see it next week. We're working on the draft budget book right now, and we'll have that finalized by the end of this week, and we'll upload it to the website along with the advertised Excel sheet so that residents can look at it. Obviously, it's not approved until you all approve it, but we'll publish the draft version. Second note, street sweeping started. It will continue into the fall. We post no parking signs a week in advance, and folks will have at least 24 hours notice. And then, as the week goes on, they'll have more notice because we'll post signs, et cetera. We'll continue to do street sweeping until the fall, and then every morning, parking enforcement officer will try to make contact with folks before we actually, ticket and toll. But that's the best indicator. If you see posted signs, then know that street sweeping is about to occur on your road. And then lastly, Sarah will update you really quickly on sort of our support plan for the commissioner from last week's conversation.
All right, good. I'm going to talk loudly into this. We have a community or a customer service admin support employee named Sarah, who will be helping the Commissioner of Revenue on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Her total hours will be about 15, 16 hours a week. She already has experience with the Keystone that they use upstairs because she's been helping water billing for a while now. She's an extremely quick learner. I've already talked to Debbie about her. Debbie seems excited to have her, and she is bilingual, so that'll help with customer service up there.
Okay, thank you.
And then I believe Debbie mentioned she has some resumes in hand already for the vacant position that Quinn left, so.
Okay, super, thank you. Okay, my understanding, we have no closed session. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, you would
Thank
do
you,
that
good
one.
night.
Night, Dean.